Listen to me closely. This is not a motivational video. This is a divine interruption. You didn't stumble on this by accident. You're here because life has been tapping you on the shoulder for too long, and you've been ignoring it. 1 hour of focus is more powerful than a lifetime of distraction because that hour is a seed, and distraction is a thief. You can spend years chasing opportunities, scrolling for motivation, jumping from one idea to the next, and never see the fruit of your potential. But give yourself 1 solid hour of pure, undiluted, intentional effort, and you can start a chain reaction that shifts everything. Because the truth is, it doesn't take forever to change your life. It takes alignment, and alignment only happens when you are fully present in the moment with your mind, spirit, and energy aimed in the same direction. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're scattered, their minds are divided, their schedules overloaded, and their focus hijacked. They live in a loop of almost started, about to begin, and planning to do it soon, but nothing substantial is built in that cycle. Buildings don't go up on someday. Books don't get written on maybe. Legacies aren't built with leftovers. It takes intentional hours, and often, the difference between the person who breaks through and the person who stays stuck is how they use just 1 hour. Think about the compound effect of a single focused hour repeated consistently. 1 hour a day of studying your craft makes you a master over time. 1 hour a day of building your business, writing your vision, or training your body will eventually outweigh someone's 10 years of distracted attempts. Because while they were half in and half out, you were all in, even for just 1 hour. Distraction is subtle. It looks like productivity, but it's really motion without direction. It keeps you busy, but not effective. You scroll, you plan, you talk about what you're going to do, but the real work, the actual creation, the actual mastery, requires solitude, silence, and commitment. It demands a space where the world's noise can't reach you. That kind of focus doesn't just produce results. It rewires your mind. It teaches you how powerful you actually are when you're no longer pulled in 20 different directions. In an age where attention is currency, your ability to focus is your greatest wealth. People pay with their attention every day on things that don't build them, don't grow them, don't serve them. They bankrupt their future chasing short-term stimulation. But if you can reclaim even 1 hour of your day and channel it into your purpose, you break the cycle. You begin to compound value in your life. Focus turns average into elite. It turns noise into clarity. It turns one day into day one. 1 hour of focus is a spiritual discipline as much as it is a mental one. It's saying no to distraction not just because it's unproductive, but because it dishonors your calling. You weren't created to be busy. You were created to be effective. Your vision requires you to be available to it. That means you can't be fully available to your dreams if you're fully occupied by your distractions. You can't buy time, but you can multiply it through focus. 10 distracted hours are worth less than one fully focused one. And the moment you taste the power of that kind of deep work, you start to realize just how much of your potential has been trapped in shallow attention. When you focus, you force clarity, you remove excuses, you see what you're really capable of, and once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Most people are one focused hour away from momentum, just one. Not a full plan, not a perfect schedule, not 10 years of research. Just one brave, present, locked-in hour of execution. And yet they delay it day after day, thinking they need more time, more motivation, more validation. But they don't. They just need this hour, the one that's already in their hand, the one they could have started with yesterday, the one that could build the bridge to a version of themselves they've only dreamed about. When you give yourself that hour, you're not just building skill, you're building identity. You start to see yourself differently. You start to believe, I follow through, I show up, I execute, and that belief shifts the trajectory of your life. Because now you're not waiting on motivation, you're walking in momentum. Don't underestimate the power of that hour. Don't treat it like it's optional. That hour could be the hour that changes your life. It could be the hour your dream wakes up. It could be the hour your confidence comes back. It could be the hour heaven aligns with your hustle. But you'll never know if you keep trading your focus for distractions that never deliver. So turn off the world, close the door, kill the excuses, and give yourself the gift of one focused hour, not for anyone else, for you, because the life you say you want is waiting for you on the other side of your discipline. And that discipline begins now. Your future is hidden in what you're avoiding today, not in what you say you want, not in your vision board, and not in the perfect plan you've been tweaking for the last 2 years. It's hidden in the uncomfortable thing you've been running from, the hard conversation, the habit you know needs to die, the decision you've delayed, the healing you've postponed, the gift you've buried. The future doesn't belong to the busy, it belongs to the bold, and boldness often looks like facing the very thing your mind keeps trying to skip. Avoidance is expensive. Every time you ignore something that matters, you're making an unconscious trade. You're choosing ease over elevation, delay over destiny, comfort over calling, and it feels good in the moment, but you're not fooling your future. Your future is watching. And it only responds to the actions you take today, not your intentions, not your dreams, but your willingness to move through the very resistance that scares you. We think we need more time, but time is not the issue, alignment is. Some people have been stuck for years not because they lack talent, but because they've become masters at avoiding the one thing that would change everything. Maybe it's forgiving someone. Maybe it's forgiving yourself. Maybe it's putting the phone down and picking the book up. Maybe it's admitting you're afraid. Or maybe it's committing to a standard that reflects the level of future you say you want. You're not waiting on a miracle. You're waiting on you, and that's the real tension. We think the delay is out there, but most delays are internal. They're hidden behind the avoidance we've convinced ourselves is protection. But the longer you protect yourself from discomfort, the longer you protect yourself from growth. Avoidance is not safety, it's slow self-sabotage. Look around at your life. Look at what's not moving. Look at what's been stagnant. In almost every case, you'll find a hidden avoidance behind it. A step you haven't taken. A truth you haven't faced. A fear you haven't called by name. And as long as it remains hidden, your future remains delayed. Not denied, delayed. Because nothing can steal what God placed inside you, but you can silence it by ignoring what you know you must do. We all avoid in different ways. Some of us avoid through distraction. We stay busy with low-impact tasks. Some avoid through perfectionism. We'll do it once it's perfect. Others avoid through over-planning. We act like preparation is progress, when really we're just buying more time to not act. But the future doesn't reward effort without impact. It rewards execution, and execution starts where avoidance ends. What's crazy is that the very thing you're avoiding usually contains the key to the breakthrough you've been praying for. The clarity, the confidence, the elevation. It's not in another YouTube video or podcast. It's in the action you've postponed, and the moment you confront it, your entire energy shifts. You stop being a spectator in your own life and start being the architect of your future. Avoidance breeds anxiety. Every day you avoid what matters, you lose a little more of your peace. You lose trust in yourself. You tell your own mind, I can't count on me. And when that becomes your identity, it's hard to believe in a big future. But when you face the thing you fear, even if you do it imperfectly, you regain your power, you rebuild trust, you remind your soul, we don't run anymore. This is not about working harder, this is about working braver. About doing the internal work that most people refuse to do because the battlefield is not out there, it's within. And if you win in here, nothing out there can stop you. Your competition isn't another person. It's your own avoidance, your own hesitation, your own unwillingness to look in the mirror and say, I've been playing safe, and it's time to stop. You don't need another confirmation. You already know what you're avoiding. And the beauty is, you can change direction today, not when the timing is perfect, not when the fear is gone, but now, in the middle of your doubt, in the middle of your mess. Right now is holy ground if you decide to stop running. Because running never took anyone to their future, facing it did. What you're avoiding has power over you until you stand up and say, no more. And when you do, you'll discover something powerful. That fear was never the enemy. Avoidance was, because fear doesn't stop you, avoidance does. And the moment you stop hiding from the thing you fear, you'll uncover a version of yourself you haven't met yet. One that's bolder, sharper, and ready for everything your future holds. You're one decision away from momentum. That's not a cliche. It's a truth most people never test because they're too busy overthinking the decision instead of making it. They get stuck at the start line, analyzing every risk, every what, if every potential setback, until the opportunity slips through their fingers. But momentum doesn't come from perfection. It comes from movement. It doesn't require clarity for the next 10 years, just enough clarity for the next step. One decision, one bold yes in the face of fear, one moment of obedience to the voice inside you that says, go. The most powerful shifts in your life won't always come from big plans. They come from pivotal decisions. You don't have to know everything. You just have to decide something. It might be the decision to finally start, to finally stop, to walk away from average, to forgive so you can be free, to take yourself seriously, to cut the excuse you've nurtured for years and say enough. That one moment of resolve creates a ripple effect that changes how you show up in every area of your life. See, most people wait for momentum to feel ready. They think motivation comes first, but momentum creates motivation. Action pulls emotion behind it. You don't feel like doing the work until you're in the work. You don't believe in your power until you start using it. That's why so many dreams die in hesitation, because hesitation feels safe but slowly eats your confidence. The longer you delay the decision, the heavier it becomes. What could have been light and life, giving turns into a weight you carry for years. But the power of one decision, it cuts the weight. It flips the switch. It tells your mind, we're moving forward now. And the mind obeys, because once you make a decision, everything else starts to reorganize around it. You start seeing opportunities you never noticed. You start attracting solutions. You start building proof that you're serious. That proof builds belief, and belief builds momentum. This is how winners think. They don't wait to feel perfect. They decide to act in faith. They understand that certainty is a myth. No one has it all figured out. But progress belongs to the ones who choose anyway, who move when it's uncomfortable, who choose purpose over perfection, who choose obedience over opinion, because at the end of the day, a decision backed by action is more valuable than 100 intentions backed by nothing. You can't talk your way into a new season. You have to move into it. You can't manifest your future while clinging to old patterns. There's a version of you that's only unlocked through decision, a level of favor and clarity and power that only reveals itself once you commit. It's not about more information. It's about making the call you've been avoiding, And here's the truth. It's probably not even as complicated as you think. The enemy of your momentum is not complexity, it's indecision. You've been circling the same mountain, rehearsing the same fears, waiting for a sign, when the sign is in your own discomfort. If it's stretching you, it's likely shaping you, and you'll never know what's on the other side until you step toward it. So let's be honest. You already know the decision. The real question is, what are you willing to sacrifice to make it? Comfort, approval, control, because momentum requires a cost. It demands that you let go of the version of you that's addicted to safety. And the beautiful part is, once you decide, you often realize the fear wasn't as deep as you thought. It just had a loud voice. One decision can change your trajectory. One yes can break the cycle. One commitment can open doors that have been locked for years. But you have to choose. Choose to believe again. Choose to fight again. Choose to rise when your emotions say sit. Because no one's coming to push you forward. That's your job. That's your responsibility. And that's your power. You can sit in the same place a year from now, telling the same story, or you can make the decision today that your future self will thank you for. You don't need a perfect path. You need a decision followed by movement, followed by discipline, and from that moment, momentum is no longer a mystery. It becomes your lifestyle. It's not about speed, it's about direction, and it starts the moment you say, "I'm done waiting." Momentum lives on the other side of that moment. Discipline, in a short window, can break lifelong chains. It doesn't take a lifetime to change a lifetime. Sometimes it just takes a season of extreme focus, a few days of saying no to comfort, a few weeks of choosing the hard thing over the easy way out, a few months of locking in on the vision so deeply that every excuse dies under the weight of your commitment. The reason most people never taste true freedom is because they think they have to do everything perfectly forever. But the truth is, transformation often begins with a concentrated window of non-negotiable discipline. Chains are not broken with wishful thinking. They are broken by repetition, by resistance, by doing what needs to be done long enough to overwrite the program that's kept you stuck. You don't need forever. You need consistency over a short, focused time where you treat your future like it's sacred. And when you do, your brain starts to believe that change is not just possible. It's real. Most people underestimate what can happen in 30 days of discipline. In 60 days, in 90 days, you're not trying to master everything overnight. You're proving to yourself that you are no longer a slave to your emotions, that you can keep a promise to yourself, that you don't need external permission to become internally unstoppable. When you go all in, even for a brief season, you gain leverage over your old habits. You rewire your identity. You start to believe, this is who I am now. The chains in your life, whether they are mental, emotional, physical, financial, are often connected to patterns that have gone unchecked for years. But the moment you introduce discipline into the equation, those patterns begin to break down. Discipline is confrontation. It tells every limiting belief, every lazy habit, every fear, driven delay, you don't run this anymore. And when you sustain that kind of energy, even for a short time, you create momentum that can carry you forward for a lifetime. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about freeing yourself. Discipline is the most loving thing you can do for your future. Because it says, I'm not going to let temporary desires rob me of long-term impact. It says, I value my purpose more than my comfort. And the moment that becomes your mindset, the chains start to crack. A lot of people pray for freedom, but won't commit to the habits that make freedom sustainable. They want the outcome, but reject the structure. But the reality is, Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel like. It comes from mastering what you must do, especially when you don't feel like it. That's where the growth lies. That's where the change sticks. And that's where your confidence begins to rise. Discipline in a short window trains your mind to stop negotiating with weakness. You start to treat your standards like law. You show up for yourself when it's hard, and what happens? Your self-respect increases, your momentum builds, your clarity sharpens, you walk different, talk different, think different, not because someone motivated you, but because you showed yourself what's possible when you stop playing small. Some of the most powerful seasons in life are the ones where no one sees what you're doing, but you're in the dark, sharpening your sword. Waking up early, cutting out distractions, saying no to things that used to own you, reading instead of scrolling, building instead of complaining, and every day you do it, you break a little more of the chain that held you back for years. The lie is that discipline takes too long. The truth is, avoidance takes longer. Living in regret steals more time than effort ever will. 1 year of discipline can set you up for 10 years of overflow. But you'll never experience it if you keep negotiating with your chains instead of destroying them. And here's what's beautiful. It doesn't matter how long you've been stuck. Discipline doesn't care about your past. It only cares about your pattern. You can decide today to enter a season of focus that shifts everything. You can choose a short window, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, where you become ruthless with your time, intentional with your energy, and immovable in your commitment. You don't need hype. You need resolve. You don't need to feel it. You need to decide it. Chains don't break when you wish for change. They break when you act different, when you train different, when you think different. And all it takes is one season where you refuse to bend to the old story, one window of discipline that reminds your spirit what freedom tastes like. You're not as far as you think. You're just one focused stretch of discipline away from becoming unstoppable. Clarity comes when you silence the noise and command the mind, not when life gets easier, not when the answers fall into your lap, not when someone gives you permission. Clarity isn't a gift that shows up uninvited. It's a reward for those willing to get quiet, shut out the world, and face what's really going on inside. We live in an era of noise. Notifications, opinions, trends, distractions, scrolling, comparing, consuming. So much stimulation and very little reflection. And in that storm of external influence, people lose their own voice. They forget what they really want. They chase illusions because they can't hear their own spirit speak. But when you silence the noise, when you shut the door, turn off the phone, and stop letting everyone else's voice override your own, that's when clarity rises. Because clarity was never far away. It was just being drowned out. Beneath the chaos, you already knew. You already felt the pull, the truth, the step you needed to take. But clarity doesn't scream. It whispers. And if your mind is too loud, you'll miss the very thing that could have shifted your direction. The mind is powerful, but it is also programmable. Most people are being run by a mind they never train. Thoughts that were handed to them by fear, by trauma, by culture, by past failures. But here's the truth. Until you command the mind will command you. It will create scenarios that don't exist, fuel anxieties that aren't real, and talk you out of moves you were born to make. You don't get clarity by hoping the fear goes away. You get it by mastering the voice in your head and putting it under discipline. Every breakthrough starts in the mind. If your mind is scattered, your actions will be scattered. If your mind is conflicted, your steps will be hesitant. But if your mind is clear, your life will start to follow that order. The problem is, people wait for clarity to come from outside. They want someone else to show them the way. They want a perfect sign, a 10-step plan, a confirmation that removes all risk. But clarity isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it just says, move. Sometimes it says, let go. Sometimes it says, you already know. And if you're brave enough to obey that simple whisper, the rest of the path starts to reveal itself. You can't build a powerful life with a cluttered mind. You can't move with conviction if every step you take is clouded by other people's opinions, unresolved emotions, or noise you never unplug from. Silence is not just an escape from sound, it's a strategy. It's how warriors hear the battle before it begins. It's how visionaries separate themselves from the crowd. When you create internal silence, you give wisdom a chance to speak. Your spirit is not confused. It's your mind that's noisy. It's your schedule that's overloaded. It's your environment that's chaotic. But inside you, there is a core that knows exactly who you are and what you're here to do. The question is, do you trust that voice enough to stop distracting yourself from it? Most people are not confused. They're just disconnected. Disconnected from their priorities, disconnected from their values, disconnected from their own inner authority. To command your mind, you must become the gatekeeper of your attention. Not everything deserves your focus. Not every thought deserves to live rent-free in your head. You have to speak to your mind like a leader. We're not entertaining that fear today. We're not giving space to that doubt. We're not spiraling into what-ifs. Clarity comes when you stop allowing weak thoughts to run wild and start directing your energy like it matters. Because it does. You don't need more information. You need more intention. You need to protect your mental space like your life depends on it. Because it does. Every breakthrough, every blessing, every business, every boundary, it all starts with a mind that is clean, focused, and led by purpose. And that doesn't happen by accident. You train it, you guard it, you discipline it until the noise no longer distracts you from the truth you already carry. This is not about ignoring the world. It's about filtering it. It's about learning to hear everything, but only respond to what aligns. It's about developing a quiet strength, the kind of inner stillness that gives you clarity even in chaos, the kind of focus that sees through fog and keeps walking forward. That's the power of a commanded mind. The future doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most clear. The ones who can say, I know who I am, I know what I'm building, and I don't need external noise to validate it. That's the kind of clarity that moves mountains. That's the kind of focus that turns ideas into empires. And it starts the moment you decide to turn down the volume on the world and turn up the voice within. The hour you invest alone will separate you from the crowd. Not because it makes you better than anyone else, but because most people simply won't do it. They won't sit with their own thoughts. They won't carve out space to think, to build, to reflect, to sharpen. They stay busy, surrounded, entertained, distracted, but the people who rise, the ones who build something lasting, they understand that separation requires solitude, that greatness grows in silence, not in noise. That destiny is not decided in a crowd, but in the quiet moments when no one is watching. The world teaches hustle, visibility, constant motion. But what separates the average from the extraordinary is not more noise, it's more depth. And depth can only be developed in solitude. 1 hour of intentional isolation, spent in discipline, reflection, study, or execution, carries more power than 10 hours of shallow multitasking. It's in that quiet space where your vision gets clear, where your priorities align, where your excuses die and your standards rise. That 1 hour, that's where you meet the honest version of yourself, not the image you present to others, not the version you curate for likes and approval, but the one that holds your truth, the one that knows what you've been avoiding, the one that knows what you were born to do. Most people don't meet that version of themselves because they're never still long enough to hear it speak. But the ones who rise, they build that relationship daily. You want to grow, learn to be alone with your own potential, not isolated in pain, but anchored in purpose. That hour is where you go from inspiration to implementation. It's where your dreams stop being fantasies and start becoming plans. It's where you trade distractions for discipline, where you write the strategy, do the reps, train the skill, pray the prayer, visualize the outcome. Every great vision was born in silence before it ever reached a stage. The hour you invest alone will expose how serious you are, because talk is cheap when you're surrounded. It's easy to say the right things when people are listening. But it's what you do when no one is clapping that defines your future. Do you still move when no one's watching? Do you still build when there's no feedback? Do you still train like you're about to be called to the front? If the answer is yes, then that hour is already doing its job. It doesn't matter where you start. That hour belongs to the broke, the tired, the overlooked, the underestimated, the unqualified. It doesn't care about your background. It rewards your focus, your consistency, your obedience to the vision, and when you stack that hour day after day, you begin to transform not just what you do, but who you are. You walk into rooms with quiet confidence because you know what you've built in private. That hour builds internal equity. You might not see results overnight, but you're developing something even more powerful. Resilience, the kind that doesn't break when life gets loud, the kind that doesn't fold under pressure, the kind that separates you from the crowd because while they were looking for shortcuts, you were building substance. And here's the thing, most people won't understand why you're doing it, why you disappear for a while, why you say no to distractions, why you protect your time like it's sacred. But that's okay. You're not here for applause. You're here for alignment. You're not chasing hype. You're chasing mastery. And mastery doesn't grow in crowds. It grows in commitment, 1 hour at a time. Eventually, that hour will show in public. The discipline, the depth, the clarity. It will manifest in your words, your actions, your results. People will ask how you did it, and you'll know it wasn't a miracle, it wasn't magic. It was that hour you gave yourself when no one else thought it mattered. It was the lonely hour, the disciplined hour, the transformational hour. You don't need more motivation. You need more moments of silence with your mission, moments where you're not trying to impress anyone. Just obey the call inside you. That's what builds legacy. That's what creates momentum. That's what changes the trajectory of your life. So don't underestimate that hour. Don't cancel it for things that won't matter next week. Don't trade it for validation or comfort or temporary escape. Guard it like gold. Protect it like purpose. Because the hour you invest alone will not only change how the world sees you, it will change how you see you. And when that happens, the crowd becomes irrelevant. Because you're no longer following trends, you're following truth.